Hi! I didn't have much of an idea of what to do today, so I figured I'd make a top 10 list. And, well, today's top 10 list is of, well, the top 10 animate inanimates that kinda creep me out because they're animate. So that would be T-T-I-A-T-K-C, and I don't remember what it said after that. We can come up with some other sort of acronym, but that's what we've got right now. So, enjoy.
Number 1, Chucky. Like it kind of goes for without saying. He is creepy, and he's supposed to be a doll, but he moves. Then he marries, and he has this wimp of a son, and he attacks people. It's meant to be comedic, but that he's still creepy. Slappy. Slappy was from the Goosebumps books. He had this entire trilogy, Night of the Living Dummy, 1, 2, and 3, respectively. And he is what kicked me onto this whole not liking animate inanimate sort of thing. I used to have a dummy, and after I read these books, I stuffed him into the back of my brother's closet and never saw him again. Which is a shame, because we used to be really close. I've written papers about this. But we used to go shopping together, and I had these massive ventriloquism acts. I mean, that was something, and then Slappy ruined it all. Glass. Which sounds kind of strange. Glass is in itself an animate inanimate. I mean, it's an amorphous solid, and I'm not entirely sure about the science behind it, but it basically, what it amounts to is that it's a solid, but it slowly moves over time. Like, I used to, I live in an old house, a really old house, and before we changed all the windows for, no heat seeping out during the winter sort of reasons, we had these old windows with old glass, and if you looked at them carefully, it was thinner at the top than at the bottom. At the bottom, everything was starting to settle down there, and it was really neat but kind of weird at the same time. Andy in Toy Story. Now, a lot of this has to do with the Uncanny Valley. Well, this particular one. Which is basically this theory that when you create something that is supposed to look like, a real thing, like a real person, say, and it is so close, but there's just one, there's something off about it, and that is what's off-putting, and that's what kind of creeps you out. In Toy Story, I mean, the toys, some of them are more, human-ish, like, the cowboy, Tom Hanks's person, whatever his name is, but, he or like the dinosaur, I mean, they're all toys, so you don't really, you know that they're fake, and so it's like, alright. But Andy is supposed to actually be human, but he's not. And he's, out of all of them, Andy's the freakiest one out of there. Rather than, the moving toys. The Burger King dude. Need I say more? Gargoyles. A lot of different places sort of, use gargoyles. I mean, you've got them in Gothic cathedrals, you've got them in castles, and in fantasy and all, they use them too. Like, I don't know, the video game Kingdom Hearts has them, and uses them as enemies. They're kind of just sitting there, not doing anything, being stone, and then they attack you. And kind of like, oh, wait, what? Ah! And that's, that's sort of what's going on. Anyone doing the robot. The dance, that is. Apparently my family watches So You Think You Can Dance, and the other night there was a guy doing the robot on it, and I have to give him, he was really good at it. But it was kind of creepy too, just because he was just, he wasn't, it's sort of a reverse Uncanny Valley, I suppose, where he was just, he's a real person, but he's moving. He was very robotic, I suppose. His saving grace was that he was dancing to an Owl City song. Zelda has these things called the Re-Dead. The Re-Dead were these things that usually you found in graveyards, and they're sort of, I suppose, zombie-ish, but they just slowly creep at you. And I'm making hand movements now. You can't see those. But they slowly creep toward you, and they'll actually, they'll get close to you, and they'll do the scream thing, and then Link, who you're playing, will stop dead in his tracks, freaking out, like you can't move him. And if the thingies get too close, if the Re-Dead get too close, then they will kind of latch onto you and, legs and arms wrapped around you, and start sapping your life away. And they were kind of creepy at the time. And we've got Barbies, which there's a reason behind it. We've got the old Twilight Zone, and then they kind of remade it a couple years ago, and there was an episode, this was shortly after I was starting to come out of my fear of Animate and Animates, and they had this Twilight Zone episode where there was some girl babysitting, I think, in some house, and the Barbie dolls were coming to life, and, creeping out of their cases, and doing weird stuff to sabotage her and everything. And eventually I think they tried to kill her, I don't remember. But it was creepy. And finally, did you think that you were going to escape a Doctor Who reference? Silly, silly, silly. These are the Weeping Angels, who are amazing, if scary. They are, the coolest assassins ever, because whenever somebody's looking at them, they literally turn to stone. They cannot move, they are stone. But when you turn your eyes, when you blink, when you're not looking at them, when they're not being looked at, that's when they move. And, well, sometimes they kill her, but usually they send you back in time, and then feed off of the energy of what you would have done had you not been sent back in time.
Cheers.